Birds 365, day after an Eagle win. Went a little bit more than maybe we thought we would going into the game, but an Eagle win just the same. And we get Jeff Kerr up here. Maybe you need to go a little bit more on the optimistic side because me on the defensive line, McMullen on the secondary, we were kind of beating up on the Eagles in the first segment. I think they deserve being beat up. But, hey, how about that offense, Jeff Kerr? Who the hell on the planet can cover A.J. Brown right now?
No one can cover A.J. Brown. The Eagles have Darius Slay and James Bradbury. They can cover anything right now. Well, so they're definitely not covering A.J. Brown, but it's just amazing what Brown is able to do week in and week out. I'm still amazed by the one-handed touchdown catch he made. I know it was on the other side of the field, but it actually looked a lot more impressive in person than it did when I watched the replay of the game last night. And I'm just amazed by anything that guy does. The Eagles, I did it in my overreactions piece for the NFL in week 8. I put A.J. Brown's the best receiver in the NFL. I said it's an overreaction, but he deserves to be in the conversation with Tyreek Hill. He's been that good this year.
He's definitely put himself in the conversation, and he's having a great. I mean, think about this pass-happy era, guys, and nobody in the history of football has ever done what A.J. Brown has done, 125 or more yards in 6 consecutive games. So to call this a heater would be understating it. What's most impressive to me is Jalen Hurts is obviously dealing with something. And before we did get to the dismal defense, Jody and I did mention, people criticize Jalen Hurts early in the season when the Eagles were running the football effectively because teams were giving them those types of looks to run the football. You hear it all the time too as well, Jeff. Oh, Jalen can't throw the ball. At some point, you're going to need to throw the ball for 319 yards and 4 touchdowns. Well, there you have it. 319 yards and 4 touchdowns. And oh, by the way, as we mentioned, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, 15 targets, 15 receptions. This team can win in so many different ways. To me, that's what sets them apart. Then Kansas City, Buffalo, whoever you want to throw out there. Dallas is coming up. Dallas is a very talented team. We're going to talk about them this week. People are probably going to get mad at me all week because I think a lot more of them than most Eagles fans. But they're not nearly as consistent as this team. Yeah, they had a bad game on defense. The offense picks them up. Offense might have a bad game here and there. Defense usually picks them up. Even special teams now has improved. Britton Covey, another good punt return. Yep. So while we did get bogged down on the bad stuff, this is a pretty good football team. And Super Bowl hangover, blah, blah, blah. And they went on the road. I'll throw that, Jeff. Their record on the road is astonishing. 13 of 15. Do we complain too much about this team?
We might be overcritical, but they're 7-1 for a reason. And I held back on this. I saw a response yesterday when I commented on Jalen Hurts having 11 turnovers in 8 games. I didn't say it was a problem. I just put out a stat. And someone said to me, "Oh, you're acting like this is a big deal. We'd still be 7-1 if you didn't have them." And I was going to respond, "No, they'd be 8-0.
They'd be 8-0, yeah. They would be.
I mean, it's kind of amazing when you think about it. They get literally nothing behind DeAndre Swift from the running back position. Nothing.
Ooh, be careful. Be careful. Coach came to the defense of Kenny Gainwell big time yesterday.
Boy, he really did.
Holy mackerel. You don't want to say anything bad about Kenny Gainwell, Jeff Kerr. The coach is going to call you on the carpet.
Yeah.
I don't care what the coach says. The coach can say whatever he wants. They get nothing behind DeAndre Swift, and it's affecting DeAndre Swift. It's affecting the running game. Now, obviously, Jalen's mobility has a lot to do with that, but Eagles got a really good quarterback, and they got a really good wide receiver. They got 2 really good wide receivers. Now you got Julio Jones to the mix. He's making plays. They still have – you know what? John and I were talking about this yesterday. They have a clutch football team. When you need to make a play on this football team, they're making it, whether it's a Hassan Reddick sack, whether it's a Julio Jones touchdown catch. I know Terry McLaurin had 2 uncharacteristic drops on 4th down yesterday.
Yeah,
that was the reason.
there.
Yeah, that was the reason why the Eagles beat the Commanders. Situational football. The Eagles are making plays they need to make in the fourth quarter, and the Commanders, they're having 2 turnover on downs. Sam Howell throws a pick to replay. Ray Blankenship did not a good game yesterday, but he made, in my opinion, one of the plays of the game when he had the interception instead of the go-ahead touchdown. This is just a clutch football team. They know how to win games, and that's why they're 7-1.
Yeah. Yeah. It's to a point where I was telling Jody when it was 14-3, he asked me if there was any time I thought they were going to lose the game. I didn't necessarily think they were going to lose the game at 14-3, but I did start to say, maybe it's not going to be their day. And then they score and they make it 14-10. And then I just got the feeling that Washington was not going to be able to keep up what they were doing, and they were going to get worn down, and the Eagles were going to win the football game. Then, and to a certain degree, when you see Joey Sly at the end of the half, that's typically what the Eagles do with Jake Elliott. He makes a 56-yarder, and you say, well, that's pretty good. And nope, they wave it off, false start, and bang, he hits a 61-yarder. And then you say, maybe again, this is not the Eagles' day. And then they come out in the second half and ho hum, start really cooking offensively. Yeah, and the numbers in Nick Sirianni, in the Nick Sirianni era, 17-5 on the road, which is ridiculous. I mean, I don't think people understand how hard it is to win on the road in this league. And 13 out of their last 15 on the road in the National Football League. Boy.
You don't win on the road like that.
No, nobody does. But
no, you know who does? The Chiefs until yesterday. And it was a perfect dichotomy of the two teams. Tough spot, team that they can lose to, almost never do, always games, and they go into Denver and get beat, and the Eagles go to Washington and win.
Yeah, well, I mean, during the Sirianni, the Eagles have the best road record. I mean, nobody's got a better road record. Now, and as I said, it's only gotten better after the ugly 2-5 start. Now, part of it, you could say they took over FedEx Field again. They have, they can take over various stadiums, and they have in the past, and that's certainly helpful. But it's more than that. I mean, and I think it starts with Jalen Hurts, this sort of steady presence that he provides, never gets sort of a lot of teams panic on the road, let's be honest. And I think his mindset kind of calms everybody. Yeah, it's hard to criticize the team unless and we've waited too long. So we gave the flowers out. Now, Jeff Kerr. All right, Jody and I were arguing. Who do you blame more? Front, back seven.
Yesterday, can I blame Eric Bieniemy because of his game plan? It was
it was a great game plan. Great game plan.
I mean, quick drop, find the middle of the field, neutralize the pass rush. And again, that's why I said how clutch this team is, because they couldn't have a sack all game, and then a 4th and 5 shows up, and what's Hassan do? Shows up and gets a forced fumble. He shows up at the right time. But yeah, the Eagles only had 11 pressures yesterday. Hassan Reddick had 3 of them, and 2 were in the first half. So they weren't getting the Howell, but Howell was also getting rid of the ball quick. And when you have the middle of the field wide open, he's going to. So I think if I had to pick, I think it'd be the back end. But again, I still think Kevin Byard, Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown, Eli Ricks, whoever they put in the slot, by the way, that's who I think they're going to look for, a slot cornerback if Bradley Roby isn't healthy soon. That's what I think it's the communication they're trying to get there. Byard said it after the game yesterday. He told me, told a couple other reporters, it's an unacceptable performance. As the gist of it is, we have to be better, and we will be better. This is not our standard. And I mean, you could tell adding a veteran like that to that defense is going to pay off tremendously in the second half.
So let me ask you this, Jeff Kerr. If the Fangio defense, which the Eagles have played since Sirianni showed up, from Gannon now into Desai is what it is, and they're going to allow you to catch the football in front of them, which they sure as hell did yesterday, why wouldn't everyone do that against them every single week? Why wouldn't every team go to town on the game plan that the Redskins had and just try and get the ball out of the quarterback's hands as fast as possible and watch the Eagles give up almost 400 yards of offense?
One, they can, and two, the Eagles will adjust. That's why.
Did you see any adjustment from the first quarter when Sam Howell was getting the ball out of Andrew? Oh, man, that looks good. Oh, man, it's 14-3. The adjustment never came. So what makes you think that they need those all-important 7 practices, 7 walkthroughs during the week, however many they get to, that's when they do their adjustment? Why didn't they do any adjustment at halftime?
Yeah, Jody, sometimes
it's too busy going to the bathroom and eating some orange slices. Yeah,
or checking their phones, right, John?
Yeah.
At least some.
We know Kenny Gainwell did.
Most overrated thing in football is halftime adjustments, but you
only have 12 minutes. You have no time to make halftime.
You're supposed to be adjusting as the game goes on, adjusting. But I don't like that term. But
what term would you use, John?
I would use tweaking. What
about countering? Would you use countering?
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, it's supposed to be built into the game plan, but to Jody's point of why doesn't everybody do it? Because that's why the NFL is a week-to-week league. Now the Eagles are going to overreact to this, and that's what teams do. And they're going to say, "Oh, we got to tighten this up because we were so weak at it." And all of a sudden, somebody offensively is going to come in. A lot of teams like Miami came in here with hubris. Oh, we don't care. We're going to throw the football. We throw the football on everybody. We're going to throw the football. We're going to play like we normally do. And by the way, rightfully so. Why would they think otherwise? They were having an historic season offensively when they came in here. They're not afraid of anybody. So they're not going to play like the Washington Commanders. So everybody plays differently every week would be my answer to Jody. And Dallas, same thing. Dallas thinks they can beat the Eagles. Dallas thinks they're more talented than the Eagles. Dallas thinks they're going to come in here and win a football game. They're not going to have the Washington mindset of Eric Bieniemy comes in, oh, we got to get the football out of this kid's hand or he's going to get killed against this team. Different mindset. So they're going to play differently.
And that mindset is why the Dallas Cowboys don't beat anybody any good, because they think they can beat people good, and then they do lose to a team that's lost 3 in a row. They get blown out by a team. So, yeah, you're right, John. That's the problem with that mindset. I actually like how the Eagles overreact to things, because I think overreacting is better than just resting on your laurels, and I think that's why the Eagles are 7-1 and why they've had the best record or shared the best record in the NFL since the start of the 2022 season, while most teams are trying to figure out who they actually are going into week 9.
But the thing I would say is you're not going to see any grandiose changes in week 9. So in other words, when people say, well, they have to tighten up in coverage, they have to play press coverage. That's not what they do. That's all I'm trying to say. They're not going to throw out. They're 7-1. They've had the best record or tied for the best record. How many straight weeks, Jeff? I forget the number.
Ridiculous. Let me count. 27?
27 straight weeks have had either the NFL's best record or tied for the NFL's best record. They're not going to scrap everything because they had one bad performance in the back 7. And by the way, there's explanations. Kevin Byard, hey, all the credit in the world playing the whole game with less than a week of preparation. He's going to get better. Obviously, the communication wasn't there. Reed Blankenship, that's the worst game he's played all year. Kind of erased by the big interception, but he was not good. He's going to play better. I expect him to play, Sidney Brown's going to get better, or Bradley Roby's going to come back. Slay's going to play better. Bradbury's probably going to play better, although I don't think Bradbury was that bad. Some guys, sometimes you don't have a great game. And
It happens. They
sometimes you
could be
shake it up.
great next week.
Yeah,
I mean, they're great. They're great more weeks than they're not. Let's just put it that way.
yeah. So I wouldn't, they're not going to change their whole defensive scheme because Sam Howell had a good game.
No, call it what you want. Adjustments, tweaking. What was the other way? You had one other word to use to describe
Countering was
Countering is good.
Yep,
Whatever it is, needs some of it. I'm not talking about scrapping the whole defense and go, oh, now we got to play aggressive press.
Well, I'm not saying you said it, but I hear it all the time. They got to play press. They got to play press.
A little tweaking, a little countering next week after the game they had would not be the worst thing out of Sean Desai. And I give Sean Desai credit because the first time they played Washington, he did something that Gannon never did an entire year, which is blitz linebacker. And he got home 3 times. And I know he went untouched. Oh, so why? Yeah, because that was the way they schemed it up. He was supposed to get in untouched because the Eagles' defensive line draws as much attention as he did. So I was actually impressed with the fact that Desai did some countering earlier in the year. Yesterday, he countered nothing. He just kept with the same game plan all day long, and Sam Howell almost beat him. And yeah, I got Ed Kratz coming up in about 40 minutes, and I'm going to have to eat some.
Going to spike the football.
Damn,
he's going to spike the Sam Howell football.
Did not see Sam Howell having the kind of game that he did going into this one. But let's give props to the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's not admitting to it. They're not admitting to it. Someone put the report out yesterday that it's a bone bruise on his knee, which means he can't do any further damage to it, but he's playing in pain. And you could see it a couple times again yesterday, John. Maybe you could see it better or worse. I can't tell. The place they put in that stadium down there is ridiculously bad. So maybe we saw it better on TV than both
you definitely did
live.
Oh, you definitely did, Jerry.
Yeah, you did.
He's not even walking right. You can tell that there's something not right with Jalen's gait. And yet he plays through it, and he plays tough, and he takes a beating. How tough is this young man a quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff Kerr?
Well, I'll tell you how serious it is. And Mike Sealski heard about today about how long Jalen took yesterday.
Oh, it was forever.
His press conference. Oh, it was for and Jalen normally takes a while, but this was an extra while. You know where he was? Getting treatment on that knee. Friday, I always see Jalen when I'm in the locker room. Just always see him, just say a passing by, we say hi, whatever. I did not see him Friday. So I'm assuming he was getting treatment on that knee. Nothing to report, but because you don't know, but he's obviously playing through pain. And he honestly, this is where the whole I get mad at Jalen can't throw. He's a running quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna fool me because he's been awesome the last 2 weeks throwing the football. And I think Jalen knows the run game is basically taken away from him because of this injury. And he's playing through a lot right now. It's whether it's a bone bruise or not, that's what I personally think it is. The sleeve or the brace or whatever he's wearing on his knee. It's limiting him, but Jalen knows how to win without running football. And we're seeing it. And, the bye week can't come soon enough for the Eagles. I think a week off will do him some good.
Yeah, I mean, with Jalen, Jake Glazer, it is a bone bruise. He is wearing a sleeve-like brace. It's not like a big, bulky brace. He's wearing a sleeve type
like
thing.
The one Miles Sanders wore last year.
No, well, Miles had a bulky one, yeah. Well, Miles had one bulky one and then scaled it back, and then he ditched it. But from Jalen's perspective, he's going to play, and he's playing successfully. He's just playing a little bit differently. He's not going to run the football, and he'll get through this. I'm more concerned about Jalen Carter injury-wise because he's supposed to be getting an MRI this morning. They are not the same. When I was defending the defensive front with Jody versus, remember, I'm defending them versus the back seven. They were not the same without Jalen Carter. And to a certain extent, Jordan Davis wasn't 100%. They were not the same yesterday. I'm not trying to say they were the same. I was comparing them to the back seven. Jalen Carter, and it's weird to say for a rookie, is sort of like A.J. Brown was for the offense last year when everything fit into place when A.J. got here. That's what happened on the defense with Jalen Carter. wasn't Sean Desai's better than Jonathan Gannon or vice versa. It wasn't the secondary. They were making up. I argued the best slot corner on the Eagles this year was the defensive front because the slots were all awful. You don't play 7 slot cornerbacks because they're doing a bang-up job. Well, Avante got hurt, obviously. If you have a slot quarterback, you play the slot corner. They're trying all these different bodies because nobody has grabbed the spot. And hopefully that's Bradley Roby when he gets back, or they make another trade or something else. They are not the same team when Jalen Carter's not out there. If he has to miss some time, do you start to get concerned?
I would. I will mention this too. I did see Jalen Carter yesterday. Now again, back injury. I'm not sure if he was, but he didn't look like he was under pain as someone who's had a lot of family members with bad backs. Jalen. Now, keep in mind, Jalen's a lot younger than these people, but Jalen did not look in any pain when he was walking. Now this is when he was walking, so we'll see how MRI is. But yeah, they need Jalen Carter. They need Jordan Davis healthy. I thought, John, you would know this off the top of your head. How many snaps did Jordan Davis and really end up playing?
17. Both 17. Carter and Jordan Davis both had 17.
Yeah, less than a quarter of the snaps at the defensive tackle position. Both of them.
You could feel the impact.
And Fletcher had to play the freaking whole game. Fletcher played like 50.
And Fletcher's been awesome this year. But that's not ideal. And Milton Williams plays through a lot.
And Milton plays, and he was banged up. He came in with a heel, and then he banged up his shoulder, and he fought through it.
You wouldn't even notice it. We saw a lot of Kadavius Street yesterday too.
Yeah.
But
season high.
Milton Williams plays through pain. He's essentially the Jalen Hurts of the defense. You wouldn't even know he's hurt half the time.
Yeah.
All right, so Jeff Kerr, we have now just over 24 hours to the trade deadline. Howie Roseman went out, made a deal last week, and kudos to Byard for taking every single snap yesterday, although he's still learning on the fly and did get beat yesterday like most of his secondary mates, but you believe that's going to get better with a full week of practice underneath his belt. How are we going to do anything between now and the deadline tomorrow? Is there one more move up Howie's sleeve, or they're getting a little short on draft capital? I know Johnny Mack likes to say you can trade 2025, 26 draft picks. Sure, you can, but every year you move off, the value gets a little bit less.
Not with the dummies that are GMs in this league. Don't give them too much credit, Jody.
Okay.
You gotta remember, John. It wasn't just a 4th round pick for Alberto.
No, it wasn't. They traded draft space for Alberto. That's it. They didn't trade a 4th round pick for Alberto.
Yeah. They swapped.
I
do expect Howie to be busy. I do expect him to be on the phone. Can he get something done? It all depends who's out there. I mean, I personally, since they don't like to play Rashad Penny, I'd like to see them get somebody to help out DeAndre Swift. Personally, but it's hard to complain too much when you have the number 2 offense league in points and yards per game. But you could use an upgrade there. I think they could look at linebacker. I think that's probably what we're going to be looking at, linebacker, slot cornerback. Maybe they can make a move there. I mean, they don't have a lot of day 3 picks in 2023, and they have some in 2024, but it's not like these players are going to cost a lot at this point. It's more of teams trying to shed salary and just look forward to next year. So maybe Howie can get something done. Maybe your boy Jordan Hicks comes back, John McCall.
Yeah, maybe Minnesota's got to give up. I mean, that's a bad injury for Minnesota. They don't have a backup quarterback because, and here's another example. I'm picking up poor Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. You assume Kirk Cousins is always going to play because he's always there. But if you play long enough, you're getting hurt at some point. And their backup is a 5th round rookie. 5th round rookie. That's a bad plan, Jeff Kerr.
All right, so here's the deal. Let's combine 2 things here. Eagles send Marcus Mariota to the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this last night. We know exactly where you're going here, Joe.
Yeah. You know why Howie won't do that? Because Howie will, Jalen Hurts might get hurt next week, and Howie doesn't want to pull the plug on the season. He's not going to have a rookie 7th round pick as his backup. He's not going to do that. You're not going to do that. I'm not the biggest Marcus Mariota fan in the world. I think Minnesota would jump at that trade to have a competent quarterback. And I see it wince at even competent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way Howie Roseman would go forward with the 7th round rookie as a backup quarterback. Just absolutely no way.
You know what's crazy about all this? The Vikings are right now the 7th seed in the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, they were playing well and they were getting back in. Now, best case scenario, they're the last seed and they're out in the first round, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. But I'm sorry. I've been picking on GMs in this league for 2 weeks now. There's just so many bad GMs. I typically give them too much credit. I say certain teams won't do stupid things. Oh yeah, they will. So I'm done predicting how he won't pilfer somebody of something, because that's how bad these guys value day 3 picks more than their own children. And the history says you're not getting difference makers. And everybody, well, you might get Jason Kelsey. Yeah, you might. I don't like your odds. And all you have to do is look down the list of 6-round picks to pretend that group is going to be all that meaningful.
That's where I will defend the guy like Quez Watkins when people say he sucks. I'm like, okay, well, he's a 6-round pick who happens to be in the league for 4 years. I think that's pretty impressive.
Right, but the reason he sucks is because the coach continually defends him, which he did again yesterday with Kenny Gainwell on a day where Kenny Gainwell didn't do much. Sometimes I don't understand where Nick is going. John, I did get a text, though. Tanner McKee said, tell McMullen I was a 6th-round pick, not a 7th.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And he said in Portuguese.
Only 20 picks behind Jaron Hall, who's stepping in for the Vikings. We could argue that he should have been picked higher than Jaron Hall. Good luck, Minnesota. I know they go back to 500.
We'll see. We'll see if he should have been picked ahead.
Yeah, it's Jody McDonald's evaluation.
I would not want to play either. I would not want to play either. And Nick Mullins is hurt. Our old friend Nick Mullins. He was the actual backup, and he's on injured reserve. But I'm not a big Nick Mullins guy either. Although he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy.
Carson Wentz is available there, John.
Carson has done a fabulous job of destroying his reputation in this league. It seems like nobody wants Carson Wentz. It's kind of amazing if you think about it. What quite the downfall. Because
from grace.
I mean, Matt Ryan, people are trying to get him out of the booth. I don't know. I mean,
Matt, I'll say this firsthand. Matt has no interest.
That's Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah's problem, and it's his self-created problem. He's got to play a 5th-round rookie this week. Right. Good luck with that.
Last thing, and Jeff, thank you for your patience while Johnny Mac and I went back and forth in segment number 1, and B, coming on early with us today. Mike Florio, who sometimes I respect a lot. He gets a lot of good info, and I find myself agreeing with his opinions more often than not, but sometimes he's just whack. And Tom Brady would be one of those issues. I believe he wrote about, I'm going to try and get this as close as possible, 187 posts that Tom Brady's going to be the next quarterback of the San Francisco 49ers. It was like a daily thing for about 5 months that Brady was going to.
Tom grew up a 49ers fan. I don't know.
I know that he did. Did he sign with the 49ers? No. Come on, Florio. At some point, you got to let it go. But immediately after Cousins' injury report came down, he went to, the Vikings could call Tom Brady.
Oh, geez.
They could talk to him.
Oh, geez.
Tom Brady.
Come on, Brady to the rescue in Minnesota. You don't see that happening, you two?
Oh,
you guys are old enough to remember this. Tom Brady is the new Troy Aikman. Troy's going to the Eagles. Troy's going to the Dolphins. Hey, he's only He only retired from the league because of concussions.
Boy,
He's
it
been
had
out for 3 years.
122. Same number of posts that Mike Florio did. That was the number of concussions that Aikman did.
By the way, it drives me crazy, and it happens a lot in Philadelphia. And we just brought it up with Florio and Tom Brady. But because it's relevant somehow that he grew up a 49ers fan. Why is that relevant? You heard it for years with Phillies fans and Mike Trout. Oh, he's an Eagles fan. He wants to come. You hear it now with Micah Parsons. Oh, he loves the Eagles. Maybe he'll come play for the Eagles. First of all, they're not allowed to declare, oh, I like the Eagles. I want to play for the Eagles. I'm going to go
Kevin
play for the Eagles.
Byard personally
When you're a free agent, you can say whatever you want.
You know, people grow
Kevin
up.
Byard personally put in the Titans media guide that his hardcore team was the Sixers, and his hardcore favorite athlete growing up was Allen Iverson, but it really was the Eagles and Brian Dawkins. You can't put it in the team's media guide.
Yeah.
They
Well,
can,
Troy-
and that's why it's a legitimate thing to bring up if you're
No,
covering
it is not, because people grow up and they generally do what's best for them and their families at that particular time, which usually more often than not has to do with how much money said team is going to give them. Otherwise, Mike Trout would have been a Philly. Otherwise, Tom Brady would have been a 49er. Yeah, doesn't work that way.
Right. Here's where I'll go with you, John, and media members, myself included, you and Jeff and everybody else. All things being equal, he'd want to come home. When are all things equal? They're almost never equal.
Never equal.
There's almost always a difference in what someone's willing to pay and what the other person is willing to pay. So while it's true on its face, we're talking about this much of a percentage of the time that it actually happens.
If Hassan Reddick got the exact same contract offer, he'd come back to Philadelphia. However, if insert team name gave him $3 million more, I guarantee you Hassan Reddick wouldn't be in Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Reggie White
Jeff
is going
Kerr,
to be a Giant.
Who's going to be a Giant?
Reggie White was going to be a Giant, and the Packers swooped in, and he said, "Oh God, God picked me to come." No, they have the highest
sent him
money.
off to Green Bay.
Even
the fact that they gave him the most money of all the teams.
Even God can chime in at times. Even God.
Hey, God can give me money.
God likes to pass that hat around on Sundays too.
God gives good advice. It happens to be always go where the most money is. Typically,
yeah, it's really good advice.
He doesn't even have to use where he just goes cha-ching, and you know what he's talking about. Jeff Kerr, thank you very much for coming on. We will talk to you again next Monday. Have a good week, brother. It'll be after the Cowboys next Monday. Should be fun.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Jeff Kerr, CBSSports.com was down with J Mac in
I didn't see that Florio post. Florio's a Vikings fan, so he's probably hoping against hope. Yeah. That's what that's about.
Before, as a Viking fan, he literally had him San Francisco signing Tom Brady for about 180.
Well, you know what draws clicks? Tom Brady. That's why he writes about
he does. He's good at what he does, but good. It's a good thing he's not making wagers on these, because he'd be a poor man. He had Brady going to San Francisco forever. So he went down the Minnesota road yesterday. Not happening. Better chance Marcus Mariota is a Viking than Tom Brady is.
I don't think Eagles are giving up Marcus Mariota. I do not think.
Do me a favor. Clip that one, Xander. I don't think the Eagles are giving up Marcus Mariota. Got to save that one for posterity's sake.
They value the backup quarterback spot.
Despite how he's played for most of his snaps. There's another one. You're right when you say he had to handle ground balls in preseason from the backup center.
Hell of a shortstop, Marcus Mariota.
Yeah.
Hell of a shortstop.
But then every once in a while, he'll get a clean one and he'll throw it.
Now, I'm not a big Marcus Mariota fan. I don't think he played well as a starting quarterback in this league. But as a backup, I'm fine with him. Because, look, who's the best backup quarterback? I mean, the names are.
Well, the whole bunch of them are starting now. They're not backups anymore because guys are going down like
most
flies.
of them aren't that good, to say the least.
I watched Tommy DeVito yesterday try for the Giants.
How -9 passing yards? How is that even possible in the modern game? I don't even know how that's possible. That kid in Chicago, I always get his name
Ty
wrong. I don't want to Ty
Tyson
Badgett. I don't
Badgett.
want to screw it up. I just call him Tyson. It's Tyler, isn't it? I don't know.
I think it is Tyson.
Oh, then I usually call him Tyler. Whatever it is, I call him the opposite. Yeah, there's a lot of bad backup quarterbacks. I mean, I said I was very happy with Gardner Minshew as a backup quarterback. Not that he was a great quarterback. I just thought he was a good backup. And, he's the one guy who at least he puts up some decent numbers. He looks like he doesn't win games, but at least he looks like a professional quarterback. Yeah, it's a bad situation. And you saw it with the Jets. I mean, the Jets have, Zach Wilson, as bad as he's played, is actually
made a couple plays late yesterday.
That's what I'm saying.
Awful for 3 3/4, but then we made a couple.
At least he can make a throw now and again. That's what I'm saying. There's so many of these backup, they can't even make a throw. It's at least he can make a play. He made that. I saw the pass to Wilson. That was a nice throw.
Well, Wilson's such a stud.
He's a great player. If Aaron Rodgers was there, I said it from day one, he's going to be a superstar. And he would have been if Aaron Rodgers was playing. And he already is a superstar. People just don't know it yet because he doesn't have the volume, because he doesn't have a vehicle to get him the football.
Right.
He's already a great player, and hopefully, Aaron can get back, and that would have been a good team. I feel for you, Jody. That would have been a very, very good team.
And oh, by the way, we talk about it a lot. We got to get a break in here, and our buddy Ed Kratz is going to join us in less than 15 minutes. Who'd they beat? Who'd they beat? Who'd they beat? That's all anybody ever says in evaluating the league. Yeah, I know what the record is, but who'd they beat? The Jets have beaten the Eagles and the Bills. Say what you want about the Jets. Say you want about the quarterback state.
Well, they've embarrassed every quarterback they played. They did embarrass Tommy DeVito.
Yeah, what an accomplishment. Yes, their coach gets a little emotional and overstates his case every once in a while. But they've beaten good teams this year. They're 4-2 with a win over the Eagles and the Bills.
It's a very good roster. They just don't have a quarterback, and when you don't have a quarterback, it's red. But and that's why everybody was so hyped up about that team. They finally had a quarterback, and everybody looked at the roster and said, "I don't know where they're going to." It's not like they're going to win a Super Bowl, but they would have been in the mix if Aaron Rodgers was playing.
And he was out there throwing the football before the game yesterday.
And this is what I said, talking about Kenny Gainwell. You're right. I was in that press conference. I was rolling my eyes along with you. He's comparing Kenny Gainwell to Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown.
Exactly.
I think he brought him. But I hope because people jumped down my throat. I was telling them very early that this team trusts Kenny Gainwell. I didn't say I agreed with it. I'm just trying to tell you what they think. And they love Kenny Gainwell. Why? I don't know, but they love Kenny Gainwell. So stop yelling at me. That's not my fault. Yell at freaking Nick Sirianni. Right. He's the one who loves him.
Most times you differentiate. Here's what the Eagle thinks. Here's what John McMullen thinks. If you just say, here's what the Eagles think, and don't say, here's what John McMullen thinks, then people just assume you're lining up with them, that you're in agreement with them. But you have said before, because I know I've asked you, because, I'm not the biggest Gainwell fan. One of the things that annoys me about the Eagles is Kenny Gainwell had this great playoff run last year. No, he had a great playoff game. He was great against the Giants. He didn't do all that much against San Francisco, and in the Super Bowl, because they pulled Miles Sanders because he made an idiot move early in the game, turning the ball outside rather than just turning it up inside. He wasn't great in the Super Bowl either. He had one great playoff game, but somehow that became conflated to he had a great playoff run with the Eagles. No, he didn't. Stop.
Well, it became conflated because Nick said it about 100 times.
That doesn't mean that it's right just because he says it. Sometimes we can disagree with the coach. And on the topic of Kenny Gainwell, that would be one of them. Quez Watkins would be another. All right, McMullen and McDonald, quickie timeout, come back. We're only minutes away from Ed Kratz joining us here on Birds 365.